So today's agenda for discussion is Python functions and docstring. Okay. So if you recall in the previous module, we have focused on control statements, right? Today we'll focus on functions, and this also can in a way help you to define the flow of your program. Okay. After this, we'll start the concept of data frame. So let's start. The first thing that we're going to discuss today is what a function is, and what is the syntax of functions, component of functions, and types of functions, and how to create functions in Python. So in, if you recall in the previous classes also, we have seen various examples of functions, right? Knowingly or unknowingly, we have already used functions a lot of times. If you remember, we have used print statements a lot of time. We have used input functions a lot of times, which were taking input from user, right? So those all were the examples of predefined functions, system defined functions, right? And they all examples which we have seen, they all were meant to do certain job. For example, if you're using a print functions, it will print something in the screen of your monitor. If you define input function, it will take some input from user, right? So if I have to define a function, I would say a function is a group of related statements that perform a specific task, right? Every function has got certain job to do. Doesn't matter whether it's a inbuilt functions, system defined functions, or a user defined function. Okay. And why are we using functions in any programming language? The reason is function helps to break your program into smaller and modular chunk, right? So if suppose you are trying to build a software, right, and that software is very complicated, it is doing some very sophisticated work. So in order to build that software, you need to have a lot of modules, right? You need to define a lot of modules. There would be one part of code which will take input from user. There will be another part of code which will perform certain computations on that input. There would be another part of code which will display some output to the user, right? So typically when we build certain software, what we do, we define functions, specific functions for doing some specific kind of job, and that helps us to make our program modular, manageable, and it gives a feeling of more organized, right? Also, one very important reason we use a function in any programming language is it avoid repetition. Okay, so let me give you a visual feel why we need to use function. Okay, let's say that you want to build some sophisticated software, right? And this is the space where you are doing your programming. Okay, let me make it some different color, something like this. Okay, now you have written a function for doing certain job, right? Let's say that you have written here the logic of doing addition of two number, right? Now what is happening is there is another logic you want to build, and you know that that logic will take input of this function, right? So what you can do is, like, you have defined a function here, right? You have written a function for doing certain job, and you can take the output of this function as an input for doing certain another job, right? Just think an example. Let's say that you want to perform certain multiplication operation, right? And we know that multiplication is nothing but it's just a repeated addition. So if at all you have to build a logic for multiplications and you already have a logic for doing addition, right? You can use the same model for coming up the logic of multiplication also, right? So what is happening is in that case, you need not to create the code from scratch for multiplication. You can use the existing module which is doing addition operation in certain way that will do the job of multiplication also. So in a way, it is promoting what? Reusability of code, right? This is a logic which is giving me the addition of two number. I can use the same logic for doing multiplication also, because I know that multiplication is nothing but it's a repeated addition. So you understand how the use of function is making my code modular, making my code smaller, making my code manageable, organized, and at the same time it is avoiding repetition also. Is this motivation sufficient to read functions in Python? Are you convinced that Python is function is useful to read?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. So one part of my job is done. Right now, let us now since you have agreed that function is important in Python and we should study Python. Now let us see how to create functions in Python. Okay. The basic syntax for function is it starts with keyword called def, right? And this marks the start of the function header. So this is the function header. And this def keyword, it marks the start of my function header, right? And then we write function name, right? So this is the function name. What would be the name of your function? So if you want to create a function that would do the addition of two number, probably you should write here some word like addition, something like that. Okay. And one thing remember here, this naming of function, it follows the rule that we read when we define identifier, right? So if you recall, when we read about identifiers, when we read about the naming convention rules for variable, we read certain steps, right? One was the name should not start with any numerical value, right? It can be the combination of uh, your alphabet and numeric, but it should not start with numeric value. Only underscroll is allowed. So those rules, those naming conventions are also applied when you have to name a function, right? Then there is another thing called parameters, and it is also called as argument, right? So to perform any logic, what thing you need as a raw material? You need to have certain input, right? You need to have certain values over which will perform some computations and give some output. So this parameter is nothing, it's just an argument, right? And a kind of an argument which is given to function, and with the help of this parameters it will perform certain job and give you an output. Also remember, this is an optional part. It is perfectly fine to have a function which doesn't take any input from user but still do certain job and give you an output, right? But if suppose you want to write a function that will do addition of two number, the parameter would be what? A comma b, where a would be one numeric value, b will be another numeric value, and here you'll write the logic for doing a plus b, which is nothing but simply a plus b in Python. Understood? What is this parameter part? What is this argument part? Parameter and argument are one and the same thing, right? And after that we are having colon. So this colon marks the end of function header, right? So after colon, whatever you will write, it will treat it as the body of function. Okay. And here you'll see that I have written here triple quote docstring triple quote. So this docstring is nothing but it's a documentation about this function. So normally what happens is, uh, let's say that you're working on some software company, right? And you as a team, you're trying to build certain software, right? And your manager has given a small module of that particular software, right? You have to write certain function that will implement certain functionality, and you have decided to write a function for that. So it's always and always a good practice that you document your function, right? So that when you share your function, the user need not to ask you, hey, what this function is doing, what input it is taking, what kind of logic it is implementing, what is an output it is returning, right? Normally whenever we write a function, we document it, right? And this is called docstring, documentation string, and it is encapsulated between triple quote, right? So here you can write a sentence, here you can follow certain predefined format by different uh, system like Google, from NumPy, different organizations for defining your docstring. But one simplest way you can do is, like, you can just simply write here a sentence about your function, what input it is doing and what output it is giving, right? So that whenever who is going through your function, he'll immediately understand that this is the function which is implementing this particular functionality. Okay, we will deal with this docstring in great detail in today's lecture only, but I have explained you what docstring is in a nutshell. Okay, now whatever thing you are defining as a body of function, it will be always indented, right? So here I have put the indentation of 4 white space, which says that whatever I'll write here, it would be a part, it would be a body of this function. Okay, and every function, whenever every a function is implemented certain functionality, it returns something. Whether you define it or not, it will return something, right? We'll see what is the return type of function a bit later, but a function will always return something. If you have not explicitly mentioned to return anything, it will return none, right? Okay, so now let's see what is an example of function. Okay, how do we define a function? So here I have created a function that will greet someone, right? And who will be that someone? That name of that someone will pass as the function argument, and it will greet that particular person. So here I have, as I mentioned, I will start with keyword def, that means define, and I'll write the name of my function. Since I am writing a function that will greet a person, that's why I chose to write greet. And this will take an argument name of the person to whom we have to greet. Okay, then I have written here a docstring. Okay, docstring means a documentation of this function, and here it says that this function greets to the person passed as a parameter. Fair enough. And now here comes the logic part, right? So here, since I am writing a function for greeting, hello, the name of person, and good morning, right? So this has created a function, a logic, a module to greet a person whose name will be passing it as argument. Okay, now the question arises, since we have defined a function, how do we use the function, right? How to call a function in Python? So once we have defined a function, we can call it from another function also, we can write from another program also, even Python prompt also, right? And how do we call this function? Nothing, we'll just write the name of this function, right? And I'll pass this argument. So I have written here my name, and it has given me the output. What is that output? Hello, Ashutosh, good morning. Fine. One thing always remember, first of all, define the function and then call it. Some people does this mistake. They will call the function first and the next time they will define. That doesn't work. It will give you an error. First of all, you have to define a function and then you have to call it. Clear? Till here, any doubt? Hello?
Yes, it is clear. I'm
Yes.
missing the second one when it is saying greet is not defined. So how if you're not using how
No,
it
no, no.
is? Just can you wait?
This part you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, this part I have not covered yet. Till the part which I've covered, is there
Okay.
any
Yeah,
doubt
I
there?
understood.
Okay.
No, no.
So what I was saying here is, see, you have to always define your function first and then you have to call it, right? Here I have intentionally made this mistake to show you what will happen if you'll call function first, right? And then you'll define. So I have created another function. And the name of that function is greet2. Okay, greet2 is the name of function I have defined, but before defining I have called it. So Python interpreter will say that you're crazy, you are calling a function before actually defining it, and it will generate some error, right? It says that grid 2 is not defined because you have defined grid 2 in this particular step, but you're calling it in this particular step, right? So always define your function first and then call it. This concept is common for all programming language. Doesn't matter whether you going with Java, C++. Always define your function first and then you call it, right? Okay. So now coming to the another part of function, that is a return statement, right? So as I mentioned that every function will return something. It doesn't matter whether you explicitly mention return or not, it will return something. If you're not explicitly mentioned to return something, it will return none, but it will return something. If you don't trust me, here is a code for that. See, we have used this print function many times, right? So here what I'm doing is I am calling my greet function, the function which I have defined here, right? And I'm passing my second name as an argument, and it is giving me hello hello Patel, good morning. But what is here? None. None is the return. None is the return of this print function. This print is also function, right? Right. So this is coming from this print because print does not have any default return, explicitly mentioned default return. Correct?
None means no return, right?
None means no. None means none doesn't mean that no return. It has returned something, but the data
Yeah.
type of that return is none.
Okay.
Getting? I'm giving you
Data
an
type is none in the sense.
I'm giving an empty box. You have
Okay.
you have come to me and you have said me something, and in return of that I'm giving you an empty box, right? So I'm giving you something, right? It doesn't matter whether it's an empty, it's a full. I'm returning something to you. So that is none. Are you able to relate it?
Yeah.
Cool. Now let us see another example where return is not none. We are intentionally returning something. We have explicitly mentioned to return something. Okay. So here I have defined a function that will give you the absolute value of your input, right? So here again, as I mentioned, it will start with def, then the name of your function. It will take the argument.
ABS is right. Absolute value. It's a
Hmm.
predefined function. ABS.
Yeah, ABS is a predefined functions, but here I'm defining my custom functions, my user defined function.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so first of all, I'm mentioning what this function does. Right, this function returns the absolute value of entered
Absolute
input.
value.
Right, though we already have a predefined function for computing the absolute value of anything, any input, but still, just for the sake of explanation, I have written my own function for giving the absolute value of user input. Okay, so what it is doing is, it is first of all taking input from user. So I am I'm asking this function to give me the absolute value of 2. Right, this num, it is because it is taking the value 2 from here. First of all, it is checking whether it's a positive or negative by using this if statement. If num is greater than equal to 0, that means what? Num is positive, and I'm directly returning num. But if it is negative, which will come into the else part, then what I'm doing, I'm multiplying it with negative sign, so that it becomes positive, and I'm returning the positive value of that user input. Getting? So just focus here this num keyword, I mean return keyword, right? So this return keyword is returning the result, right? So if I'm giving a positive number, return will simply return the positive number. If I'm giving a negative number, then it will multiply with -1, and it will give me the result, so that it becomes positive. You can see here, when I'm passing argument as 2, it is giving me output 2, and when I'm passing the output -4, it is giving me the output as 4. Clear? Yeah, cool. So you have understood how to define function, how to call a function. Okay, now let's do a little bit deep dive into different concepts in function. Okay, the first here is the scope and lifetime of variable. Okay, so scope of a variable in a portion of a function where the variable is recognized. Okay, parameters and variables defined inside functions are not visible from outside the function, hence their local scope. What this line means is, whatever variable I'll define within function, the visibility of that variable will be within this function only. If you'll call that variable from anywhere outside of that function, it will say that the variable is not defined. I think this is something we have covered in the day before yesterday's class also, right? So the scope of the variable which would be defined within function will be available within that function only. For example, let's say that here within this function I have defined some variable, let's say that where, and I have defined here 10, 10, okay, within this function. And if I want to print this variable, it will say that the variable where is not defined. It will give me an error. Let's see why it will give me an error. Because I have defined this variable within function, but I'm calling it, but I am printing it somewhere outside of this function. You see that where is not defined, it says, though I have defined where, it says that where is not defined. The reason is it is defined inside the function, so it doesn't has visibility outside of this function. Whereas if the same thing, if I print within this function, it will work. It will print without any error. See, it has printed 10. Understood?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The lifetime of a variable is the period through which the variable exists in memory. Yeah. The lifetime of a variable inside a function is as long as the function executes. So whatever variable which I have defined within this function, the lifetime of those variable will be till the time this function is executing. Once this function is executed, those variable would be flushed out of that memory. Okay. So as long as this function is executing, those variable name, those uh, values will be occupying memory. As long as this function execution is completed, those variables, those values will not be recognized. Okay. See, here it says that they are destroyed once we return from the function. Hence, function does not remember the value of variable from its previous call. And that is a reason it gave me an error when I tried to print my variable var, which was called outside of this function. Clear? See here, there's another example. Here I'm having a function, right? Which is doing nothing, it's just printing the value of x, right? I'm defining here x is equals to 20, which is outside of this function, right? And I'm calling this function first. So you see here, first of all, when I'm calling this one, the control will go to this part first of all. It will see that the value of x is equals to 10, right? And since this print statement I have written within this function, the scope of this x is equals to 10 is available. It will print the value of x here, right, which is 10. But as soon as it came out of this function, right, and it tries to print this particular print statement, right, it will print x is equals to 20 because this is what we have defined, right? It will, as long as it has came out of this function, it will know it won't remember the value of x is equals to 10. X is equals to 10 will suddenly disappear as soon as the control will come out of this function. And what it will remember, x is equals to 20. So this x is equals to 20 is having a global scope, right? And x is equals to 10 is having local scope. It is present locally within the function. It is present globally within your program. Understood? Whatever I just told, I have mentioned those things in lines also, in these lines also. Is it clear? Now let's see what are the types of function. One is called built-in function. The built-in function is something that system provides you. For example, print is a built-in function, input is a built-in function, right? To use those functions, you need not to invoke any library. It's available from the system itself. So those are called built-in functions. The other is called user-defined functions. So user-defined functions are those functions which you defined as a user for doing your task. Okay, so these are the two different type of functions. Is there any question till here? Okay, I'll assume that there's no question till here. You have perfectly understood everything. Okay, the next concept we're gonna see here and quickly we'll cover this in 10 minutes is the docstring part, right? So I already showed you here what is docstring. Docstring is nothing but it's a documentation of your uh, documentation of your function, right? So there are different ways of documenting your function. right? But before we see those formats, let us see how can we get the description of any function. Okay, so let's say that you have written a function to greet people, right? We have seen that function earlier. So you have written that function and you have shared that function to me. So as a user, first what I'll do, first of all, I'll check what this function does. And how can I check that one? I have to write here print greet dot underscore underscore doc underscore underscore. So this is an attribute of your doc string which will give the description of your function. It will tell me that this function greets to the person passed in as a parameter, right? Let's see what is the documentation Python people have done for print statement, right? So to know that, what I'll do, print dot, and I'll use this attribute of docstring, and you'll see that this is the documentation of print statement, right? It asks to give you a value, the value which you want to print. Then you have an argument separator, you have an argument end, right? And all these things. So the main funda which I'm trying to bring here is, if you want to know the documentation of any function, you can know it simply by using this attribute. Okay. Now let's see what is the difference between comments and docstring. Right. So comment is something which your interpreter completely ignores. That is the first point of difference. Okay. Whereas docstring is something which is not entirely ignored by your interpreter, right? And we can check that also, because we have the attribute associated with docstring which give me documentation of that function. So please be careful here. Docstring and comments, they both are not same thing. They both are very different thing. Okay. Now there are different ways of documenting your function, right? One is called single line docstring, where you can just simply put one liner description of your function. For example, here I have defined a function that will multiply a and b, right? So here I have taken takes into a number, return their product, right? If you are writing a very sophisticated function, you can go for multi-line docstring also, right? So how do we define multi-line docstring? So this is a multi-line docstring for adding two numbers and returning the binary format of it, right? So I can, how can I document this function? I can start with return the one-liner description of this function, return the sum of two decimal number in binary digit. Then I can talk about the parameters of this function. What are the input parameters it is taking? This is a and b, right? Then ultimately, after all computation, what this function is returning, about that I can talk. It is a return keyword, right? So this way I can document this my function, right? So see here, I am using this function. I am doing the sum of 5 and 6 is 1011. This is the binary version of 11. And if anybody wants to know what this function is doing, you just need to use this attribute dot underscore underscore doc underscore underscore. That will give me a description about this function. Okay. Yeah. So far we have seen this documentation only for function, right? But this is not limited to function. You can extend this same concept for other uh, data type also. You can use this documentation technique for class. You can use this documentation technique for function, right? So here you see that I have defined a class. So don't get overwhelmed by looking this keyword class. Now we haven't reached the part where we will know about class in detail, but just I wanted to bring a point here that this documentation, this docstring is not only limited to function, it can be used in class also, right? There's another way with which you can know about function, right? So if suppose you want to know about built-in function which system has already given you, so for that you can use another function called help, and if will pass that name, the name of function which about which you want to know, it will give the description of that function. Getting? You can do this documentation at package level also, right? The way we can do for class, we can do for package also, right? And as I was saying that there are various formats of documentation, right? So some of the very popular documentation technique that are used in Python is restructured text, REST, it is called in short form. There's another format which is called Google format, which is very much common in lot of documentation, in lot of APIs you'll find. Okay. And in fact, there are certain tools also. We can also generate documentation from docstring using certain tools like Sifnix, right? So the reason why I am giving so much emphasis on docstring, uh, in any real life project, we have written a very good code, right? We have implemented certain very sophisticated logic, but there's no point of writing a very good code if you're not able to communicate it well with your user, right? How your user will know that the code which you have written is not very easy to write, and this is something and state of art logic you have implemented? They will only get to know if you have documented it well, right? So it's very important that you document your function. It's very important to you document your class. If you have created certain package in Python, it's important that you document so that your user will know everything about your function, your class, your package, and they can use it easily, right? So we'll stop here for today. Tomorrow we'll again continue with function, right? If you have any question, any doubt, you can ask me in the other bridge. Okay. So I'll quickly spin the other bridge right after this call, and we can have a discussion on the doubt you have, or if you want me to rephrase some of the concepts that we have covered today.
How many built-in functions are there in Python?
You have to Google it for that. Let's do that. How many? Okay, because every new release of Python, you'll see certain new built-in functions are getting added, some functions getting removed. So it says 68. Okay. 68 built-in functions.
Do we use all of them?
It depends upon the program. You won't be using all of them, I'm pretty sure, but it depends upon the kind of problem you're trying to solve. Mostly print is something which you'll be using most of the time.